It's never not painful to lose a big match, and that's where we stand today. Hello, welcome to LAFC Plus. We want to celebrate today. It's going to be hard, but it's episode 50. Episode 50. Mario Ruiz, Dave Denholm, and you on LAFC Plus. If it's your first episode, welcome. And if it's your 50th, thank you so much. And anything in between, we truly appreciate your support, Mario. We want to celebrate. It's episode 50. We've got something special coming up later, but we got to start with pain and misery, and that's just the way it is. A tough loss for LAFC. Get out of here. The Concacaf Champions Cup, you're sent home. Inter Miami gets the win 3-1, thus winning 3-2 on aggregate. If LAFC had scored late, and we'll talk about that, they had some chances, certainly some clear-cut chances, they would have advanced on 3-3 with the away goal rule. But Inter Miami gets it done. Tip of the cap, Mario. It's painful, but Inter Miami deserved it. They got the job done.
Happy 50 to you, Dave. It is the 50th podcast here, and I know there's a lot of viewers, a lot of listeners that have been there for every single one. I know there's a few out there, so shout out to you guys. Appreciate you guys. But yeah, on this episode, it's pure frustration after the final whistle blew, because there was a lot of clear chances there. The game was right there in the balance at the very, very end, I felt. And we had no choice but to just let those chances just slip away. Clear chances there, and all I could do last night, Dave, after the game, was just drain my sorrows out over some fresh ceviche over at our spot. Hobosh, I had to go there. It's the only thing that could make me feel a little bit better.
Gosh,
so
I love you.
I picked up some to go. And those tostadas had no chance. The tuna had no chance. The yellowtail had no chance in the car. I was just stuffing my face after that loss, Dave.
You had no intention of taking that home. It was just to go, only just to eat it in the car on the ride. Yeah, that's a pro move.
No
right
chance
there, Mario. That is professional work from a professional eater like me. That's very good. So I appreciate that. And Hobosh, can't go wrong there. It did go wrong in leg two, though, for LAFC. It started out very well, however. Aaron Long pounding on a rebound, kind of a weird, not a rebound, a sent-in ball that kind of fell to him nicely. And, of course, Aaron Long, a former forward in his earlier days, a striker, not in professional football, but he's played up there in the past and likes to score goals. I believe he has. Maybe I'm misspeaking. But Aaron Long certainly can finish if given the opportunity, whether it's with his head or his feet, and he did it. Great finish, no chance for Ustari. And then you're 10 minutes in, and Inter Miami needs 3 now. But here's the problem. So does Lionel Messi and Inter Miami. They know they need 3. And honestly, Mario, from the whistle after that, it wasn't like LAFC were just overrun immediately, or anything like that. It was a slow and steady, but you could sense, as much as Inter Miami was on the front foot from the first whistle, that one punched them in the nose. But they didn't really change. They just kept going. They actually probably, pushed even further offensively, which they had to do, and it didn't seem to hurt them. That goal didn't change much, as crazy as that sounds. We all thought maybe that's the winner, or maybe you can just hold on now and they don't get 3 goals and you're moving on. But that wasn't to be, because Lionel Messi is too good, bottom line.
Yeah. But you're talking about that one goal, but it was actually 3 at the very, very end, which is hard to come back from. After 3 goals, after conceding 3 goals in one match, it's kind of hard to say, we justify that we should have won that one, or we should advance to the next round. Now, it was just 3 goals in 2 total combined matches, which is very, very tough to do, to hold Messi and that talented group to only 3 goals in 2 matches. But it was very, very difficult, especially if that finishing is not there. You had the chances, but the clinical finishing is something that you and I have been talking about, especially for certain players, when they need to get rolling, they need to get into that groove. The finishing just has to be there, because, they can beat guys 1v1. But I'm talking about guys like Denis Bouanga, where he has these chances, maybe in the middle of the season, maybe he buries those chances. But since these Concacaf Champions,
maybe in the middle of the
these matches
game
are always at the beginning. Yeah.
Here's my problem, though. When you're defending for 90 plus minutes, and that's what they were doing. They had, they were defending well for the most part. You're going to be tired, right? We know this. You got to turn on the jets You still got to finish that if you're Denis. He knows that, and he'll be the first one to tell you. But it's a lot harder to do in the 93rd minute when you've been running ragged. Like this is not the 15th minute where you're fresh as a daisy and you're flying around and this is a bit.
And I did feel he was fatigued. I do see a little bit of fatigue in Denis, especially in those last 10, 15 minutes of that match, especially.
But, and Steve Cherundolo would probably say, and Denis would probably say, and Ante Razov, and we will say, you got to put it away. You got to put away your chances. And he knows that. Denis Bouanga knows that, and he's not doing it right now, bottom line. Now, he has in this tournament, but overall, he's not, in MLS, he hasn't scored yet. Didn't score here against Inter Miami in the 2 matches. He's had some good games, certainly in the Champions Cup. Dominated Columbus Crew, essentially. So that's why we got here, to be honest. Defensively, we were great too. But so it's not like, Denis is not, a problem. But when he's not finishing those types of chances, you're just not going to beat Inter Miami. I mean, that's the bottom line. And again,
and he had Falcone all on his back. Falcone was just a walking foul machine that night. He was all over Denis' back, pushing and shoving all over Nathan.
Then drag him out wide.
He ripped him out
wide and open some space. I mean, if that's how Falcone plays, and you're right, then drag him out wide. Drag him farther up the pitch then, and then get behind him.
He didn't get 1 yellow card in that entire match, and he was all over everybody.
He's a yellow card waiting to happen. Yeah.
He was telling the ref, that's 4 times. I read his mind. He said, that's 4 times. Nothing.
But that's what he wants to do. That's exactly what he wants to do, is make sure Denis is yelling at the ref instead of scoring goals. I mean, that is part of the plan, no doubt. You're right, but it worked. And for me, look, and I know nobody wants to hear this if you're a black and gold fan today. If you're one of the plus who doesn't like LAFC, but you love this show, you might want to hear this, and you probably will hear it. LAFC fans are not going to want to hear it. There's no difference between Inter Miami and LAFC other than Lionel Messi. Now, that's a massive player, right? He's the best in the world. He's the best player in the world still. You have everybody else, whatever. Lamine Yamal, nice player. He's going to be amazing. But this is the best player in the world. So there's always a difference. But LAFC went toe-to-toe. And again, that's no consolation today. I'm not feeling any better about that. But on one level, the more distance we get from this, the pain, that was a pretty good 2 matches. And it's pretty indicative of what LAFC is capable of, in the sense that we were not overawed. We were not run over. Look, the first time we played Messi in Inter Miami, we know that. We remember that game, right, Mario? We were not in it. We were not in it.
Not at all.
At BMO. Yeah. First time we ever met him. This is the Messi, not the first time we met Inter Miami. We were not in that game against Messi the first time he played at BMO. This time, of course, we won, shut him down, and then the second match was a darn good match on the road. I mean, they got the late kind of fluke penalty. That's the difference. Bottom line, and you can't take that away from them. They were putting pressure on us. Maybe they would have scored anyway. And if if there's no penalty there, there's still minutes to go. You never know. But it's kind of a fluke. It's a perfectly legit penalty call. First of all, I'm not blaming the referees or the VAR or anything, but it's a fluke. I mean, how often does that happen?
He talked about that after the match. He was saying that these type of matches, when there's two big clubs like this, sometimes when they're even just like this, you need luck. Luck has to be on your side, and they definitely got a lot of luck with that one, because that's just an unfortunate play. That's an unlucky play for Marlon. He didn't even raise his hands he didn't even really see the ball hit him. No, so
I believe this is what happened. You can disagree, and you may be right, but if you watch a replay, it's Marlon and Aaron Long.
Yeah,
I don't think either one knew who the other one was, in that they were battling in their minds. I think they were battling an Inter Miami player going up for that ball, because I don't think Marlon sees that it's Aaron Long. Thus, he's kind of balancing himself. I'm putting my arms out now, right? He's trying to hold him off. He's holding off Aaron Long.
Yeah,
because the ball's been up there so long, he doesn't know who's behind him. And as he does that, he kind of loses sight of the ball, it seems, on the replay. Maybe I'm wrong, and it just falls in the wrong spot. And so he's physically, the only two people there were him and Aaron Long. And again, you can't know that unless you got time to look around, which is not a good idea when you're standing 4 yards away from the goal, or 6 yards or whatever. So I think he thinks he's keeping Aaron Long away from the ball, although he thinks it's probably Luis Suarez or some, and it's just that unfortunate. That's the difference, like inches.
Yeah.
And
back whenever CONCACAF did the draw for this tournament, you remember that decided the brackets here for this tournament. We knew that LAFC had the toughest route to get to the final. We remember that, you're going to play Colorado in Colorado before the MLS season even starts. You're going to go out there and play them. And then if you get past Colorado, you're going to play against Columbus. We know the history there between LAFC and Columbus, and we know how Columbus is a contender in pretty much any tournament that they're going to be in. And then everybody said after that, you're going to have to go through Inter Miami probably. And everybody wanted that dream matchup. We got that. It did not disappoint as far as for fans in general. Both teams played their guts out. It was entertaining, but just LAFC came up on the short end. It was a good run. It was a good tournament. The LAFC played well in Concacaf Champions. Let's not get that twisted.
No, it showed what they can do against a very good team. I mean, Inter Miami is maybe the most loaded roster that MLS has ever seen. I mean, you start again with the best player in the world. That's a good start. That's a lot better than most teams will have in the world in terms of depth, even and every, like Messi on down. There's no doubt. So we were tooth and nail, head to toe, whatever cliche you want to use, or head to head. It was back and forth. Any kind of cliche you want to use in terms of there was not much difference. Javier Mascherano, as you said, even highlighting the luck there, and that's fine. That's unfortunately what happens. That's how you do win these matches, essentially, right?
And he was saying
you have to have a break.
Mascherano was saying that LAFC gave them life. He said that they had a chance to put us away, and they didn't. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you got to put teams away when you have a chance. I think most of us agree that we needed maybe one more goal at BMO Stadium in that first leg at home. That would have made LAFC and LAFC fans a little bit more comfortable going into Florida for leg 2. Because, after leg 1, that's only halftime, essentially, right? That's only the first 90 minutes. You still got to go a full 90 more minutes on the road with just one goal as your lead. But you had those chances also in leg 2 to knock them out, and you can't give them any more life because good teams, great players like Inter Miami and Lionel Messi and all those guys, they're going to take advantage, and they're going to take advantage of those chances. You just can't do that. And
Oscar Ustari deserves a tip of the cap, too. A couple big saves there at the end. It wasn't like, LAFC didn't have their chances and just absolutely flubbed them or were knocking the ball 50 rows deep. I mean, he made some big saves, including on Denis.
Oh, yeah.
I think Denis was thinking he could fool him to the near post on that kind of mini breakaway. What a pass by Tillman. Oof. Holy cow, what a pass to kind of spring Denis because Falcone couldn't keep up with him. I mean, that's the bottom line. And Denis got in, but what a save from Ustari. He did not flinch. A lot of times keepers going to cheat to that far side, thinking, or at least leaning a little, thinking. And I think Denis thought he could catch him to the near side, and Ustari just stood his ground and then made a great kick save. And I think that was the difference. Now, again, it doesn't come down to just that one play, of course. If Denis is a little bit sharper throughout the series, maybe. But again, Denis was pretty dangerous. He was beating guys tonight, or last night, I beg your pardon. And he looked pretty darn good, and it's not falling for him. That's the unlucky versus the lucky part of getting a PK when Marlon hands it for no real reason. And again, not his fault. I mean, it was just a fluke. Like he's I felt if anybody goes watching that replay, I really feel like Marlon didn't know who was behind him, and it would happen so fast that they were both going for it. He was trying to hold off Aaron Long, not knowing it's Aaron Long. I'm telling you, that's what I feel. And he just got his hand up too late and couldn't get it back down. And it's just such a fluke. And then Messi's not going to miss. There's just it's over. Like at that point, it's 3-2, and you got to get a goal. But we had chances, as Mario's saying. Here's a couple things I want to take away from this and a bigger picture. The first one is, and I know this doesn't necessarily have to do with anything like LAFC or whatever. The first one is LAFC, well, it does have to do with them. They can win MLS, no doubt. If you can play Inter Miami like this, Inter Miami is the best team. That's my opinion, but I'm not wavering from that. We were right there. No question. LAFC can go on to do great things this season. They got to really focus now. They don't have a lot of, as much room for error or anything like that either. Like you got to kind of turn the page. But a bigger picture thing is for you, the fans even, and this is for all fans, even if you hate LAFC but love another team or something. I've decided, Mario, in the last 10 years of my life here, I'm getting older, mid-50s now, been at this for a long time. And I wasn't always like this, even with like my favorite teams, right? You had to win. It's all about, you have to enjoy the journey. Because even the more I thought about this before the second leg, right? We had a great first leg. Okay, if we get by Inter Miami, let's say we do that. That's amazing. It's the quarterfinals. You still got to go beat another great team. And then you might have to go on the road for a match and beat another great team to win. Yeah. One team is going to win every competition. That's it. You have to enjoy the journey. I mean, I'm saying if it's a good journey, like if you're a good team, you don't have to enjoy the worst team in the league. I mean, that's not going to be possible. But if you're a team like LAFC or Columbus or Inter Miami didn't win. They got dumped in the playoffs last year, right? You got to enjoy the journey.
Yeah,
because
these are the type of big matches, right? These are the big stages that LAFC wants to be
I know.
on.
You're right.
Any club
wants to be on. That's not an excuse to lose. You're right. I'm not, but go on. Keep going. I want to make that clear. I'm not saying, you can lose and you're onto something. You're right. What is your point about that, though? I mean,
I'm saying that if you want to be a big club, like the big clubs around the world, you have to do it not just domestically here, in MLS. You have to go into these international tournaments as well and perform against the biggest clubs, like Inter Miami. Let's face it, they have the biggest players in the world right now, and Messi, and going up against him and performing the way they did, everybody's going to respect the way LAFC played in those two matches. They were in it. They were right there. Like I said, the game was right there in the balance.
Tremendous, yeah.
So they will get the respect for their performance in these. Now the next step, I guess, is growing a little bit more and making it to the final and actually raising the trophy in these type of tournaments.
Yeah, and for you out there listening, or if you're watching on YouTube, don't mishear me. LAFC lost. That's painful. I was miserable last night after that match. Mario went and got Holbox to soothe his pain. I just literally basically sat in the dark for a while and then got going, had to get up and get moving quickly. But I was miserable after that match, like no doubt. You just can't stop thinking next day I'm miserable still, so it's not about, just blow it off. I'm saying as you get a chance to step back, you got to enjoy the journey. And maybe you don't really enjoy a journey that ends up in the quarterfinals. That's not quite what I'm talking about either. But look at that final we won in 2022. We talk about this a lot. Like Philadelphia Union was that close to winning MLS Cup, right? Easily could have won that. If Cheeky Palacios' last cross is just a little behind Gareth Bale and he can't put it perfectly into the back of the net like he did, right? And he's Gareth Bale. If it's, Cheeky, the ball goes out just before Cheeky can get to it, inches, they would have won. They would have won, and it would have been one of the best MLS Cup finals anyway, right? Still. And they would have been the champs, and LAFC would have been miserable, and oh my gosh, how we still haven't won, but we did. That's the difference. But you have to enjoy the journey, because it's not, a lot of times it's not even that much fun because it's so nerve-wracking, We talk about that too. Like, I wasn't having much fun last night. Now we ended up, obviously losing anyway as well, but even when we were up early, I wasn't like, this is awesome, 2-0, this is in the bag, like in my head. No, I'm like, holy cow, there's still 80 minutes to go. This is going to be miserable. Even if we would have won, it would have been, kind of like, hanging on. So you have to try to enjoy sports.
Is like, you can't write this stuff, right, Dave? I talk about that all the time, where sports is just like so unique. It's not a movie, it's not a TV show, because you never know what the heck is going to happen. You cannot write what we were about to see at MLS Cup in 2022. You cannot write what we were about to see in the Concacaf Champions last night, Inter Miami LAFC. And that's the difference. The difference to me in being able to enjoy the journey. Because the winning definitely plays a big part in the enjoyment of the journey.
I
appreciate it.
You're appreciate
the work done, the performance, them giving their hearts out on the field, pouring it out on the field, giving their everything. But it's hard to really enjoy that journey when there's a difference of winning and losing.
Even in this tournament, how many teams could win the CONCACAF Champions Cup? Look,
only
no
one.
offense
only
to like,
one.
No, yes, but I mean, how many could? No offense to Cavalier.
Could. Oh, yeah.
No offense to like Cavalier or something. So it's not everybody in the tournament.
A handful,
right?
Good handful.
A handful, but a big handful. Like 6-7 teams can legitimately say, "Oh, we got a good shot." Now that again, some teams more than others. If you have Lionel Messi, if you've got, if you're Club America, although they're going home, they went home. If you're LAFC, you have a better chance certainly than other teams. But it's still one, right? It's one team. MLS. If you're a very average, decent MLS franchise, you're supposed to win the MLS Cup once every 30 years. Let that sink in. 30 years. That's average.
Not for LA, though. Not LA teams. LA teams.
I understand, of course. Yeah. And better teams have a better chance. But what's the realism? What are you supposed to win? This is with a salary cap league like the NFL, like NBA. You're not supposed to win every year. That's not how it's built. Sorry. Yeah. We don't want to become Barcelona, Real Madrid winning every year. We don't. You think you might. You think you want that for MLS. You don't. 99% of fans don't really want that. They might not even believe it, but they don't. You don't want to be Germany where Bayern Munich wins 85% of the titles. So that's the trade-off. You're going to get dumped out of competitions. You're in a salary cap league, and unfortunately, it's going to happen sometimes. No excuse. Unfortunately, things, in sports are based on winning, right? Coaches lose jobs. We've already seen that in MLS a couple times this season already. We're 7 games in. So there is pressure to win. Yes, you have to win in sports. I'll just leave it at this. Tom Brady, the greatest. 7 Super Bowl titles. He lost 16 seasons out of his 23. 70% of the time, Tom Brady, who's won more than we can even fathom in our minds, lost and didn't win the Super Bowl. The fact that he won 30% is ridiculous. That's how good he was, right? Yeah. Like, he's the greatest. 7 Super, insane. And yet he won only 30% of the time. Only, I say. That's insane. So if you're a bang average MLS team, you're going to win a championship once every 30 years. Most of our listeners and watchers of the show are younger than that. So you better find some joy along the way. Again, it wasn't in last night. There was no joy in last night. No doubt.
I think for me, the difference is I could probably appreciate the journey, but I don't know if I can say enjoy the journey. I think I'd rather change out that word. Say
fair
appreciate
enough.
it.
No, I appreciate that because you're a winner. You want to win. I get it. And so do I. And that's what you should be striving for. I'm not trying to make excuses. No, that's not the point. It's just, man, along the way, I want to kind of remember this stuff. It's still entertainment. Too,
yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's
very entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And, oh, gosh, you just have to tip your cap to Messi. And Inter Miami is so good. We just played them right to the end. We could have easily won that. Let's face it. If Marlon does, if the penalty doesn't get, go against us and he suffers a tough break there and just gets his arm up. If that doesn't happen, who knows? It's again, plenty of blame to go around, plenty of good, plenty of praise for Inter Miami. I mean, that's just the way a great series is going to go. You're always going to find all those.
I like the way Nathan Ordaz performed again in this match. Really solid. He poured it all out there on the field last night in Florida. And I'm remembering that one play when he split the defenders and went straight to goal, and he dished it off to, I believe it was Delgado, and Delgado hit the back heel to Denis, and Denis almost made that goal there. Yeah, it was blocked by Ustari. So I think, Nathan is really playing with a lot of confidence, really, really continuing to do well. And Steve is really liking what he sees out of Nathan Ordaz. I really would have loved to see David Martinez sometime in that second half. I think he could have created some stuff there, created some chances. His passing, his dribbling 1v1 would have, been problematic for Inter Miami. I was left with that feeling of what would have David Martinez would have done in this match, especially late.
It's true, but it's a weird thing. In a weird way, it's a bad break to give up the goal so late too. Now, for obvious reasons, because it's the the losing goal, if you will. But if you'd have given up that PK in the 70th minute, right? And oh boy, that stinks. But maybe David, or something. Maybe it's a different scenario where you got time to let a guy get his legs under him in a way, and like I don't know. I mean, it's like it changes things. If like obviously it's hindsight. If you know you're going to be down 3-2, you'd rather be down 3-2 in the 55th minute and not the 85th minute. That's obvious.
Right.
But that's just another bad break. Essentially, is when it happened too, and we had our chances even after that, as Mario outlined. But
they were there.
Yeah. Well, LAFC is another chance. You got to keep moving on. That's the beauty of professional sport. We talk about it all the time. The players, I'm sure, have frankly moved on. They have to as they travel all the way back and get ready for a game at home against San Jose. Quakes alive again, Mario, under Bruce Arena now. Yeah. Showing some signs of life. Not perfect by any means, but 3 wins, 3 losses. I think a draw, 2 in there, I think. So very respectable after being the worst team we've seen in a long time, in my opinion, especially defensively in MLS. So your initial thoughts on the Quakes coming into town on Saturday?
Well, my initial thoughts is a game right away, just a couple days away from a big, painful loss like that. That's exactly what you need. I mean, the fans, they want 3 points right away. This weekend, the fans want it, but you best believe that the players want it too. They want to get 3 points right away, bounce back from that big loss, and let's get right back to action as soon as possible, especially being at home at BMO Stadium. And all you can think about if you're LAFC is right now solely focused on climbing the table, the Western Conference table, 3 points at a time, 1 game at a time, 1 week at a time. And with San Jose coming in, they're right above LAFC. So a win this weekend, Saturday, BMO Stadium, puts LAFC up above San Jose, leapfrogging them. That's what you want. That's all you can ask for. 1 game at a time, start moving up the table. So there you go.
And less people say that, there's so much time and these games don't matter. Look, you lose this match. Yes. There's a little distance already between you and San Jose. If they beat you at home or at your place, you're now 4 points back of them and dripping, or I should say, slipping down the table. Right? It's like it's a big game, no doubt. I mean, you can't just discount this. That these games, it's so early and MLS such a long season. And no, we talk about it a lot too. The playoff seeding starts now in a sense too, because you don't want to be stuck traveling all through the playoffs or having to play like that extra play-in game, heaven forbid, or whatever, So, yeah, I agree. This is a big game. Now, here's the thing about the Quakes. As I look at this team, watching them so far this season, the offense is obviously so dangerous. 4 goals apiece for Chicho and Joseph Martinez. They're playing well together up there, which you wondered, people wondered how that might work. Of course, Joseph coming off the hat trick, so that was a lot of his goal, the 6-1 thrashing of DC. So they're flying coming into this match. Their defense can still be had. They're not completely fixed defensively by any means, but when you can score like this, that's probably the best recipe when you have a bad D, at least. You're staying in matches. You always have a shot, right? If, we're going to give up a goal early, we know we can score, like we can kind of come back, and they have the offense, no doubt. They're doing this without Hernan Lopez, one of Mario's favorites, right?
He's been injured. Favorites.
Only played 2 matches so far before the injury, had surgery. He's out for 3-4 months. Yeah. And so it's still a very impressive performances so far, very impressive story thus far, although Mario, when it's Bruce Arena, it's not really surprising, right? This guy he just wins.
Yeah, when Bruce Arena's there running the entire show there at San Jose, we knew at the beginning of the year when that happened, we were saying San Jose is going to be legit. They're going to be a contender in the Western Conference when it comes down to the end of the season. That's the best thing that could happen to San Jose in a very long time. After those seasons that they've had in the past couple of seasons where they've been struggling, now Bruce can come in, do his thing, and he can take his time with it too. He doesn't have to turn it around right away. I mean, from where they were last year to now, he knows there's going to be ups and downs, and he knows that he can take his time with it. And I think Bruce Arena is probably the best thing that's happened to Joseph Martinez as well. Joseph Martinez last year with Montreal, it kind of looked like he was descending, and now he's back to scoring again. And, he has a good surrounding, group of players around him. I think he really likes that environment, the group of guys that he's around. So it's the best thing for Joseph Martinez. Bruce Arena's there and all that talent that they have. Yeah. Christian Espinoza, Chicho Arango scoring as well. So, yeah, I mean, Joseph Martinez, he's just a goal scorer. I mean, 7 hat tricks in his career in MLS and counting. That's huge. I mean, MLS, Joseph Martinez is a baller. So expect to see a lot from him this weekend.
Wouldn't surprise me if Espinosa starts pushing like 20 assists. I mean, if those two can stay hot, Chicho's always going to score. You know that at some point he's going to. He gets streaky, no doubt, but in the end, he'll get his goals, somehow, some way. And Espinosa is going to be a big part of that, I think, feeding those two guys. This guy, Christian Espinosa, we all know how annoying he is to play against because he's so good.
Yeah.
And
but let's not have San Jose come in overhyped after, scoring 6 goals against DC United, because that DC United defense is not too good. I mean, they look like they gave up in that match. And LAFC's defense is a lot better than that DC United defense. So let's not expect that at BMO Stadium if you're San Jose fans.
I ain't scared, if that's what you're wondering. I'm perfectly comfortable going into this match. We'll be fine. But I guess my point is, too, like, the Quakes, when they were terrible, would give us grief sometimes. Now, some other times we ran them off the pitch like they fully deserved because they just weren't very good. But then even when they, like I say, when they were struggling at times, they would play us well. It was always like give the best performance of our season against LAFC. Now they're in a little different position now, maybe. Maybe it's not quite as dramatic that way because it's not like their Super Bowl on Saturday. Like Bruce Arena's not going to approach a match against LAFC like this is our game of the season. That's not, they got bigger issues in the sense of they're trying to do, more things and get to the playoffs and stuff that they haven't even sniffed for a long, so, but they can be a team that will bite you, and no doubt this could be the case. One of our buddies, Mark Anthony Kay, of course, plays with the San Jose, usually coming off the bench, and really solidifying things late in matches. And it's funny, Mario, because now that we're 8 seasons in, right, LAFC, we see our former LAFC players a lot more. There used to be not that many around the league, because it just in the first couple of seasons. We didn't have that many former LAFC players at other teams. It just wasn't. Now it's starting to kind of, you get to the point where you're seeing these guys a little bit more coming through, right? They're playing. And speaking of which, real quick shout out back to the Concacaf Champions Cup, Tristan Blackman. Ooh, wow, 90. Did you see this goal? 93rd minute to get the 2-2 draw, which was enough on away goals. They needed a goal late against Pumas in Mexico. They give up a goal in the 88th minute. You're thinking, that's a winner right there in Mexico. Pumas is
that's what the announcer said. The announcer, he called it. He's like, the winning moment for Pumas, the winning moment they've been waiting for. I was like, hold on. There's
not
still
so
time
fast,
left.
my friend.
Yeah. Tristan got something to say about
5 minutes
that
later,
one.
yeah, exactly. About 5 minutes later, he buries one. Little surprise, Pumas kind of fell apart as bad as they did defensively in that play because they were just
at home. Yeah,
I mean, Tristan Mexico just buried it. Yeah, at home, Vancouver. Tip of the cap to them too.
Hold up, Dave. Vancouver is in the semis now in the Concacaf Champions, but also getting the job done in MLS at the very top of the table. Actually, Supporters Shield leaders in all of MLS, Vancouver, and in the semis in Concacaf Champions. Wow, that's crazy for Vancouver
without
to
Ryan
be doing
Gauld.
it in both.
Without Ryan
usually
Gauld
teams
for
struggle,
a lot of
right? If they have multiple tournaments, usually teams will struggle in MLS. Not the case for Vancouver. Yeah. Now they're in the final 4 of Concacaf Champions going up against Inter Miami. What do you think about
the best team in the West?
Vancouver
one of the best teams
against
in MLS.
Miami.
Yep. Yeah. Unbelievable. So shout out to Tristan just burying that one. Of course, he's another defender that came through for LAFC that certainly knows how to score. Like he can, there's been a lot of them, but he can handle himself offensively. It's not really an issue with Tristan, like he knows what to do with the ball, and he
loves the set pieces. He loves to score on those set pieces.
Absolutely. So great win for them over the series. Of course, 2-2 draw, but they needed that last goal in the dying seconds there. Taking a look at some MLS matches around, here comes the plus part of LAFC Plus, and Mario and I want to highlight some. We're going to start with Mario. Colorado hosting San Diego. This is an interesting pick, Mario. Why do you have a good eye on this one?
Yeah, I want to see what San Diego does away in Colorado in the high altitude this weekend, coming off a dominant win, 3-0 win over Seattle, which is very, very impressive at Snapdragon Stadium. Chucky had the goal. He had the assist. They're in second place. They're playing well. They're surprising a lot of people right now. But now they go out on the road against Colorado. I think it's going to be a tough test for San Diego. We'll see how they do. And Colorado, they're doing well too. They already picked up 3 wins so far this season. They're doing their thing. So it's going to be a tough test for San Diego, in my opinion.
That was going to be the next choice I made if I had one more to do. I picked 2. That was my third choice, but then you ended up picking it. I completely agree. How do you handle that, that high altitude, just miserable type of, potential, in Colorado? It can get ugly there if you're not careful. The Rapids can definitely run over you at home.
It's an in-conference battle too. 2 Western Conference teams going at it. Yeah.
Colorado wins this, they're tied on points with San Diego. This is a 6-pointer. If they lose it, they're 6 points back. If they lose the match, so that's a big game. My choices are Toronto hosting Minnesota United, because Minnesota United is not afraid to go on the road. We know that. They already have 2 wins on the road, a draw in 4 matches. And you're going to Toronto, who's coming off the high of actually, while not winning, they still don't have playing pretty darn good against Inter Miami, against a Messi-led 90 minutes.
Squad.
Yeah, like they didn't mess around, and they still couldn't beat Toronto. Federico Bernardeschi, again, I got to shout him out. I mean, this guy is in a bad situation, bad team. He is just blood and guts on the pitch for 90-plus minutes every week, and he's good,
Special
by the way.
player.
Oh, by the way, he's uber talented, too. It's not just like he's running around like me, chicken with his
Love
head
watching
off.
him play.
Oh, man, he's worth it. So even if it's like on the paper, like Toronto hosting Minnesota should walk all over this team. Maybe, because Toronto has a lot of holes, but Bernardeschi ain't one of them. I mean, that guy is worth, and the goal he scored against Miami, whoa, if you have not yet taken a look at that on a highlight, it was a highlight reel goal. Just impressive. So even for him alone, but I also want to see how Minnesota goes on the road. If they win this, they're on 17 points. Like, it's a great start if they win this match to this season.
Great start.
So a lot riding for Minnesota. Again, if you get a draw or you stumble a little bit, it's not the end of the world, but it's like a win is so important for this one. And the last game of the week I want to talk about, St. Louis hosting Columbus. St. Louis is not good. They're a mess right now. And yet it feels like they have the pieces. Columbus is unbeaten. And there's reports flying around from very reputable sources, Tom Bogert among them, Columbus Dispatch, I believe, had that they're about to add Daniel Gazdag, who, by the way, can score 15, 20 goals a season, potentially, to this Columbus Crew team. Now, maybe that's part of the Cucho money, right? They sell Cucho. They haven't yet replaced him technically, money-wise or whatever. Not that you're going to get a player as good as Cucho, but you do have some finances there potentially, and maybe this is part of that. Mario, I mean, it's going to be, maybe Gazdag doesn't play this weekend, but what I like about this game is St. Louis is desperate. The Crew are unbeaten, and just playing well and just kind of doing their thing. Then you add potentially Gazdag to this. Whoa. I mean, the East just
I'm impressed the way the Crew are playing right now. And one thing that I had, a lot of people are questioning this, and I was questioning this, was how is Diego Rossi going to handle this? And he had a little bit of struggles at the beginning, but he's starting to play well now. And if he can get some help from Gazdag, wow, that would be tremendous help. And to be unbeaten, Columbus Crew, that says a lot. And Diego Rossi, I think he's handling it very well. He still has a lot to go, a lot of ways to go. But with Wilfred Nancy there as their head coach, they're going to be right there in the mix.
Yeah, that's the funny part about like losing in the Champions Cup, right? Of course, we obviously just suffered that, but we took care of business against Columbus. So everybody sees those 2 matches. And even amidst unbeaten in MLS, everybody's like, well, Columbus is still missing Cucho. They're not very good, or they don't look as good, or look at how LAFC handled them 3-0 at home. And then they, they get knocked out so early in the, but they're unbeaten in MLS. So it's not like they're struggling per se. We just happen to have a really good game against them and took care of business in the second leg. And we're a good team. So they lost to a good team. So it's like everybody kind of got thrown off by that, I think. Like, and maybe even I did too a little bit. Like, Columbus is going to be struggling. And it's like, you look up, 7 without a loss, they've had some draws in there, of course, amidst all the, the Champions Cup run and all that. But they're just a hard team to beat. We know that. We definitely know that. In fact, their only loss Now that I think about it, their only loss, I believe, of the season, of course, is that 3-0 at BMO Stadium. Mario, before we get out, episode 50, look, it was a disappointing, obviously match and having to talk about that a lot. But we want to end on a high note with episode 50 here. We're going to do a little contest. My personal season tickets, all right? A pair of tickets to an upcoming LAFC match. We'll work that out with whoever wins this. We're going to do a contest. Go to YouTube and watch this episode, all right? And leave a comment on YouTube on your favorite regular season LAFC win. Because if it wasn't regular season, I'd imagine we all would choose the 2022 MLS Cup. Obviously, it's the greatest game in MLS history, and we were on the winning end of it. So I would imagine if you can make it out to an LAFC match, like hopefully you live close enough. I mean, go to YouTube and leave a comment. What is your favorite regular season LAFC win of all time and why? I'll pick a random winner from the comments there, and you'll win a pair of tickets for me. We'll set that up, and for the future, we'll pick a game that works for the winner of this contest again, and we'll let that run just for a couple like until the match. I'll probably pick around the match on Saturday. I'll try to get the winner into that. So won't be taking entries all the way until even next episode. Rather, let's cut that off around game time Saturday to get your comments in. So go to YouTube, find this episode 50 of LAFC Plus, if you're not already watching it here, and leave a comment on your favorite regular season LAFC win of all time and why. And I'll pick the random winner. So,
can I give you mine, Dave? Can I give you mine?
Yeah,
favorite?
Please.
Yeah,
please.
Mine is the first ever home game at Bank of California Stadium.
It's going to be a popular one, yeah.
Laurent Simon with that free kick.
Yeah.
Oh my God, where Stephen Fry spills it. Yeah, an added time. Oh my goodness, great. What a moment! The stadium was just waiting for that jam-packed stadium, Rocket Stadium, just waiting to erupt, and they got what they wanted with that goal right there. That's just brings me chills right now. Matter of fact,
it's hard to pick. There. It's hard to pick a favorite.
There's a lot of them.
Honestly,
there's a lot of them. Yeah.
One of mine was when Carlos Vela just put the stamp down on the goal scoring record. Final regular season game of 2019, hat trick, home game. Just destroyed Colorado that day, and it was Carlos Vela. I mean, he was just finishing up an amazing year. Obviously, 34 goals, and he had 31 appearances only. He didn't play every match. 34 MLS games, but he had 34 goals, 15 assists. Just incredible, best season in MLS history, and he capped it off perfectly. It was like I kept every goal you call. It's like the new record. He, the first goal of the match, he sets the record, and then it's like, oh, wait a minute, he broke the record.
That's a journey that I enjoyed.
That's
definitely a journey that I enjoyed, and we were there for every single goal. Wait a minute,
2019 is a perfect example, Mario. We lost in the playoffs when we shouldn't have, right?
Yeah,
didn't win the cup. What a season that was. You can't forget some of those moments, right?
Yeah, that's
there. You go. You have to be entertained by stuff along the way. No doubt about it. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Great stuff. Don't forget, Saturday, LAFC hosting San Jose Earthquakes at BMO Stadium. If you can't be out there, airtime 7 p.m. Pacific on the ESPN LA app. Mario Ruiz, the producer of that, big part of the pregame, doing all the stuff there too. I'm Dave Denholm. We'll have the call. 7 o'clock airtime for the pregame on the ESPN LA app, LAFC against San Jose Earthquakes. Episode 50, Mario. Take us out of here, man. Congratulations.
Congrats
man.
again on 50. Yeah. It feels good. 50 episodes. Yep. Wow. But yeah, it's a big bounce back game for LAFC. So make sure you join us on the ESPN LA app if you haven't downloaded it yet. ESPN LA app. You'll catch the pregame show, the postgame show, halftime show, and the call, of course, by Dave Denholm right there. Make sure you catch us on the next episode of LAFC Plus. That's Dave Denholm. I'm Mario Ruiz. Let's go black and gold.